I am Father Mike Driscoll, a priest of the Diocese of Peoria, Illinois, presenting a series of videos on Catholic Demonology. Video 2: Demonic Possession, Oppression, Obsession, and Temptation. The most important thing to keep in mind about demonic possession is that it is extremely rare. That is why hardly anyone has seen the unnatural behaviors that accompany possession. Do not believe anyone who claims to see on a regular basis either demons, ghosts, or other unnatural activity. They are either imagining it or exaggerating. Part 1: Temptation. Temptation by demons is not much different than temptations that come from people. Just as people can say things that tempt and encourage us to sin, so demons can do the same thing without speaking out loud. They are able to communicate in a non-verbal way, giving us evil thoughts and provoking emotions that encourage us to sin. Not all temptations are from the devil, as Jesus explained in the following parable from Matthew's Gospel, chapter 13. Hear then the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what is sown in his heart. This is what was sown along the path. As for what was sown on rocky ground, this is he who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy. Yet he has no root in himself, but endures for a while. And when tribulation or persecution arises on account of the word, immediately he falls away. As for what was sown among thorns, this is he who hears the word, but the cares of the world and the delight in riches choke the word, and it proves unfruitful. Temptations can come from the flesh and from the world, as well as from the devil. Temptations of the flesh include sex, food, alcohol, and drugs. Temptations of the world include power, popularity, and wealth. The temptations of the devil are intertwined with those of the flesh and the world. They give us added encouragement toward those sins. Temptations are sometimes called the ordinary attacks of the devil, to distinguish them from extraordinary attacks, those that are more dramatic. Part 2: Oppression and Obsession. There seem to be demonic attacks that fall somewhere in between temptation and possession. These are not part of church teaching, rather they are acceptable Catholic opinions. In the Bible, we can see the basis for this level of demonic attack. For example, the devil did not possess Job, but caused the death of his children, triggered murderous attacks and plundering by his enemies, and gave Job himself a painful skin disease. When Jesus saw a woman who was permanently bent over due to a, quote, spirit of infirmity, unquote, he laid his hands on her and cured her. Jesus said the woman had been bound by Satan, but the gospel does not say she was possessed, and Jesus did not address the demon directly. This woman did not display the signs of possession that are recorded elsewhere in the Gospels, such as demons shrieking at the sight of Jesus and screaming his name, Therefore, it is possible that she was suffering from a demonic attack that was less than full-fledged possession. The two types of attacks that fall into this category are usually called oppression and obsession. Demonic oppression is often described as an attack that is external in some way. Again, the biblical accounts of Job and the woman with the spirit of infirmity are good examples of the ways in which demons may attack people physically without actually possessing them. Some exorcists say that in addition to causing physical diseases, demonic obsession may involve attacks on the victim's finances, relationships, and employment. However, outside of the Bible, it would be practically impossible to discern this type of attack. For example, during a recession, it becomes more common for people to suffer from strained personal relationships as well as financial hardship. Another type of demonic oppression or external attack is when the demon disturbs the physical surroundings of a particular person. There have been reported cases of unexplainable sounds, objects moved of their own accord, disruption of electrical or mechanical devices, and a drop in temperature. The demon may even physically attack the person, leaving cuts and bruises. Demonic obsession usually refers to an attack that is internal in some way. Exorcists' examples of the internal attacks associated with demonic obsession include the following: evil thoughts that victims cannot stop, frighteningly realistic nightmares and night terrors, and spirits that cling to emotional wounds or unhealthy relationships. People struggling with drug and alcohol addictions sometimes describe these as demonic. Similarly, some who suffer with anorexia nervosa say that there is a voice telling them that they should starve to death. Amongst the people who suffer from audio and visual hallucinations, seeing and hearing demons are some of the most common. All of these problems are demonic in a certain way, since Satan is the primary cause of evil in the world, and his demons are always looking for ways to inflict damage upon us. However, it would be a mistake to give the devil too much credit for causing these problems and thereby fail to address the other factors involved. Demons can be involved in physical illnesses, but that does not change the fact that we look to doctors and nurses for help with such problems. Similarly, while demons are involved in mental and emotional disorders, it is a good idea to talk to a psychiatrist or counselor before these problems become so severe that a person cannot function. The same can be said of problems with marriage and family relationships. The bottom line is that because demons are evil and cruel, they attack all of us at our weak points. But God is stronger, and He will protect us if we turn to Him. Part 3. Demonic Possession. Following the words of Jesus, the Catholic rite of exorcism refers to demons being in possessed persons, and the process of exorcism as driving the demons out of possessed persons. However, demons are spiritual beings and therefore do not occupy space as do material objects. The important factor is that demons are exerting their power over the bodies of the possessed. The demons are literally in possession of the victims' bodies and are therefore controlling their actions and words. The rite tells the exorcist not to believe too readily that a person is possessed by demons, but that he should distinguish possession from mental disorders. The concept of mental disorders was familiar to the Israelites, such as in the book of the prophet Daniel. King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon went through a period of some kind of insanity in which he lived amongst wild animals and ate hay like an ox. The inspired scripture writers were not saying people were possessed when they really meant the individuals were insane. Of course, it is possible for a person to be afflicted by both demon possession and a mental disorder. In the incident at Gerasene, it is stated that after the exorcism, the possessed man was of sane mind. This implies that he had been mentally ill as well as possessed by demons, and that Jesus healed him of both afflictions. The same possibility may be applied to the several gospel passages in which physical maladies were caused by demonic activity. The victims may have been suffering from both demonic problems and physical ailments. Some afflictions suffered by the possessed people described in the Gospels, such as convulsions and physical illness, are not enough for us to conclude that a person is possessed today. Jesus, of course, did not need to see any signs to know who was possessed, who had mental or physical disorders, and who was afflicted by both. But, as we do not have his divine knowledge, we need unnatural, observable signs. There are two clear signs in the Gospels that distinguish demon possession from mental disorders. First, the unnatural physical power of the Gerasene demoniac, and secondly, the inexplicable knowledge of many of the demoniacs that Jesus was the Son of God. Based on these, the rite of exorcism describes three signs by which demon possession may be distinguished from mental disorders. The first sign of demonic possession is the ability to speak or understand a strange language. The language must be a real language, whether ancient or modern. Incoherent babbling does not count as a sign of demon possession. They must be fluent, not just saying a few common phrases, and it should be verified that they do not know the particular language. The second sign of demonic possession is showing knowledge of distant and hidden events. This is based on two powers that angels and demons possess. They can move from one place to another instantaneously, and they remember all that they observe. Demons speaking through a possessed person can describe things that the person himself could not know, such as telling the exorcist about events in his past. Another example is the demons telling about something happening elsewhere at the time of the exorcism. If the exorcist later verifies that the information was accurate, it would be a sign that a demon was speaking. The third sign of demonic possession is the display of powers which are beyond the subject's age and natural condition. Unnatural strength is one such display, but this can be tricky since other factors, such as severe mental illness and drug abuse, can give individuals strength beyond what seems to be normal. A more definitive example is the possessed person levitating or crawling up a wall. Another sign in this category is physical turbulence occurring around the possessed person, such as inexplicable noises, objects moving, and electronic disturbances. Note that these signs are a mockery of miraculous gifts from God. The first such gift is that of tongues, in which, on the Feast of Pentecost, the apostles were able to speak in many different languages of the mighty works of God. The second is the gift of prophecy, in which God reveals to an Old Testament prophet or to a saint some knowledge that they could not have otherwise known. The third is the gift of physical miracles, such as miraculous healings, angels protecting people, or levitation. Levitation as a gift of God would be accompanied by prayer and praise of God, whereas levitation from the devil would occur in the midst of blaspheming. An additional sign of demon possession is a negative reaction to the sacred, such as the possessed person blaspheming while the scriptures are read, or crying out when shown a crucifix, or sprinkled with holy water. But these signs alone are not enough, since a person who wrongly believes himself to be possessed by demons may react the same way. Movies sometimes show possession as demons trying to drag people's souls to hell. This is not at all what possession means. Demons cannot physically seize our bodies or souls and take us into hell. But, through their temptations, demons hope to make us hardened sinners who are not sorry for our sins, and to die after rejecting the laws of God. That is how the demons take souls into hell. Can a human soul come from hell and possess a person on earth? Some exorcists say that they have had possessing spirits identify themselves as the soul of an evil person, such as the Apostle Judas, the Roman Emperor Nero, or Adolf Hitler. But the rite of exorcism warns the exorcist not to believe such claims. Quote, "Neither ought he, the exorcist, to give any credence to the devil if the latter maintains that he is the soul of some saint or of a deceased person." End quote. Summary. There are three sources of temptation: the flesh, the world, and the devil. Temptations are sometimes called ordinary attacks of the devil, to distinguish them from more dramatic attacks. External, physical attacks are sometimes called oppression. Internal, mental or emotional attacks are sometimes called obsession. Demonic possession, which occurs very rarely, is when demons are controlling the body of the victim.